Okay, so today, as I always say, we have a fantastic one, but we really do. We have a really fun one. This is someone that I've been trying to get for quite some time. And I'm really thrilled to have her on, to say the least, on a personal level and professional level, whatever. But I have none other than Academy Award nominee and, book author, nutritionist. I could give her multiple titles. But Mariel Hemingway, thanks, Mariel, for being on.
It's thank God we finally did it, right?
Yeah, this is
We've been trying, but we finally landed it. And
exactly
oh my God, I'm happy to
perseverance.
be here. Exactly.
Cool. Well, I'll tell you what, right out of the gates, I looked over like your whole career and things, and I've always kind of known about it, but we kind of went through things. Now, so you received an Academy Award nomination for Manhattan, which was in 1979. And first of all, what was it like? You're 18 years old. Were you able to take in like the enormity of that moment?
Not at all. Here's what's funny about the entire situation. So I make the movie. I'm literally 16 when I make it. Right.
Oh, wow.
So I'm 16. I'm in Manhattan. It's so exciting. Woody Allen is very, very good to me. Everybody on the set is amazing. I have the most amazing time, but I'm 16 years old. So I go back to Idaho after making it, and life is just not the same. So I tell my parents I want to move back to New York because it's amazing there. And they're like, you're 16. I'm like, yeah, I know, but I just made a movie where I was like dating somebody and I was supposed to be older, so I might as well be older and move back. Anyway, my parents should have given much more resistance had I been my parent.
Yeah, exactly.
No, and wait 2 years. Anyway, my parents were like, okay. So off I went to New York, literally at 16 years old.
That's
I moved
crazy.
to New York. But here's the funny thing. So I had made this amazing movie, Manhattan, and I'm in New York City, but because I'm a minor, I can't, for some reason, there was some child labor laws or something. I couldn't get the money until I was 18 years old. So I literally moved to New York City and I barely had enough money to like exist there. My parents, my dad got me set up in a very small studio, 1-room apartment way on the Lower East Side, which when the Lower East Side was not cool.
No, I was just gonna say, yeah,
it was so funny. Anyway, so I was walking dogs and cleaning my friends' apartments.
Oh my gosh.
Money. And people would be like, I'd be walking all these dogs and be like, I think we saw her in a movie. Anyway, it was very funny. And then I was nominated and I had no idea really what a nomination was. When I was nominated, I got a part in a movie called Personal Best.
Uh-huh.
So during when the Oscars came around, it was the year of the Oscars, I guess 79, and I was making Personal Best. So I was on set and I didn't know who to take. So I invited Scott Glenn, who is my co-star in Personal Best. He played my coach. And the only reason,
actor.
I mean, I'm not going to lie, I had a little bit of a crush on him, but it was like 18 years old. So
yeah, sure.
And apparently his wife, Carol, who became a friend of mine, was kind of pissed off at me. And I was such a naive, very naive girl.
You're 18. Come on.
I didn't realize that would cause problems in his personal life. Anyway, so I invited him. I dress up like a bride. I'm wearing white like I'm a bride. I have no idea what the Academy Awards are. I don't even know what this is about. And I'm up against Meryl Streep and, this person, that person. I'm like, wow, that's cool. She looks really she's amazing.
Oh my God.
So, no, I did not have a clue what was going on.
Wow, that is a wild story. Seriously. I picture you in these homes cleaning and the person's like, oh, hey, by the way, congratulations on your nomination for the Academy Award. Oh, thanks.
No problem.
So funny. So, look, all these years I've always heard Woody Allen, he's the director every actor wants to be directed by. It's like, I'll work for scale to work for Woody Allen. Why is that? Why do you think that is?
Well, in my opinion, he really is one of our great artists, of this, of this past century, and current century. I really do believe that he's kind of like, it's kind of like watching an artist do it in the different periods of their life, the blue period, this period, and he has tried so many different paths to making film. It's never just, yes, it's a Woody Allen film, but it's like, there's Hannah and her three sisters, and Hannah and her sisters, and it's like, a very deep, very, it's kind of dark, and then there's other, there's other ones that are very serious. It's not just comedy. So I think that he was really an a man who made art in film. And in a world where people are making blockbusters about superheroes, which there's nothing wrong with that. I was in one of them years and years ago.
Yeah.
Just, it's nice when you realize that there are some people out there making work that makes you go, wow, that's, it may even have failed, but it's a glorious failure. It may not be a box office success, but oh my God, did you see what that was made of? So, and so I just think it's working with somebody who's gonna do things outside the boundaries.
How did he connect with you on Manhattan? Like, how did he bring that out of you to the point that, hey, you got an Academy Award nomination?
Funny, he's not a super hands-on director. It's not like, oh, he talks to you about stuff. I think that he's very good at casting, and when somebody's right, it's like he gives them free rein to interpret the way they interpret. Now, Diane was struggling a bit in a couple of scenes, and they had a shorthand between them, between each other, because they'd had a relationship and all that stuff.
Right.
So there was, he really worked with her hard. There was a lot of conversation. It was very quiet. I didn't know what was going on. But when necessary, he's right in there, and he's incredibly intelligent. So, understanding character and character drive is, it's really, that was just like second nature.
Wow. By the way, what was it like offset being with Diane Keaton, or for that matter, Meryl Streep?
I didn't get to meet Meryl at the time. I met Meryl at the Academy Awards. I think at one of the pre-Academy Awards dinners is where I met Meryl. And she's always been lovely to me, in passing throughout the years. I think she's an extraordinary woman. But Diane, I loved so much. She was fun. She's how you would imagine her to be. She's just super fun and open and lighthearted and a little neurotic, and just, there's a little Annie Hall in her, I think.
Yeah.
At least that was my take, however many thousands of years ago that was.
Yeah, but I get you. It's still from a fresh perspective, because you're 18. I mean, you're like, or 16, whatever.
Yeah.
So why did you start acting in the first place?
So my sister, Margaux, who took her life in 1996, I think it was, and she became a supermodel when she was, 19 years old. I was 12. And then she exploded on the into the fashion world, fashion and beauty world. She was on the covers of Vogue and Time magazine and this magazine, that magazine, all around the world. And then there was a movie called Lipstick.
Yep.
And
I remember
she
it.
got this movie, and there was a part for a little sister. And because she'd never acted before, she called my dad and mom and said, I think that Mariel should play my little sister, which I was a little surprised because we didn't get along terribly well.
How interesting.
I was a little, I was 7 years younger.
Yeah, that's a big difference.
It's a big difference when you're at that time in life. So she just thought of me as a tattletale, and like I was probably a brat.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of shocked. I was like, oh wow, I get to be. So I went to California, and I didn't ever think of it as something I was going to do. I just thought, oh, this will be fun. I'll get to go to California, I'll be in Hollywood. I'll buy new school clothes. Like it was just all, it was kind of a dream that revealed itself, because when I made that movie, I got amazing reviews
right
for my performance, and I didn't even really know what that meant. I was like, oh okay.
Oh my gosh.
Reacting to the situation the way that you would. So
wow. So what were you dealing with, like, kind of at that point in your life, like when Lipstick comes around? What were you kind of like, what was going on in your life as I don't know, what was it? You're like 12 years old, you're in Idaho. What was your typical kind of like life like, honestly, then?
So Idaho at that time, it's Sun Valley, so it's a ski resort. It's always been a little shishi la la,
Yes.
but only during, the holidays and around 4th of July. In between, it's just a small town, really. Not so much anymore. It's quite, it's quite the place to be, or whatever.
Right.
But as a kid, we moved there from Mill Valley, California when I was 4. So that's always been my home. The mountains, I was a ski racer. My life in Idaho was just, that's who I was, being connected in nature. It's why I do what I do now. Health and wellness is such a big part of my life, and nature being your best teacher, whether you're at the beach and you're walking and, watching sunrises and sunsets, like all of those things were a part of my childhood. And they're a big part of how I survived my childhood, because there was a lot of dysfunction in my house, like there is with so many people that have to deal with issues. I mean, we all have to deal with.
Was it a good thing then that, I mean this in the best way, but was it kind of a good thing that you were able to kind of like leave and go do a movie?
100%. Because there was a lot of pressure I put pressure on myself. I wouldn't say that my family chose this for me, but I kind of chose it for myself, to be the person that was I felt like I was the person who was going to fix everything, because there was a lot of drinking in the house, a lot of fighting. Nobody was communicating, but there was a lot of like yelling, but it was like communication from one side was not meeting the other side. It was just like a clash. So when I made these couple of movies as a child, I realized, oh my God, life doesn't have to be that scary and stressful as it's been since I was a kid. Now, since I was very small. And not in complaint, but I just realized that it was exhausting. And I put myself in a position to not be a problem, not be an issue, clean up after messes, clean up after drinking, clean up after a party. I was going to make things good, which was a stupid thing, but I didn't know any different. Now it was
You're a kid.
I was a kid, and I thought, oh, this is my job. Yeah, I'm good at this. I love everybody so much. And it wasn't that I didn't love my family, but when I left, I realized it was because I had a break making those movies and realized, oh, wow, like all this stuff doesn't have to, it's not up to me. It wasn't up to me to begin with, but I didn't know that until I left. Right. So you're right. It was kind of what I needed to do, like to survive too.
That's so interesting because, so many people, it's almost the reverse happens where they enter the industry, it totally messes them up. And
Totally.
you know what I mean? And for you, in a way, it was the reverse. It actually took you out of a situation that was chaotic.
Said that, but yeah, I would say that it was, thank God for the craziness of Hollywood to actually make our crazy look kind of okay. Like it was,
Mhm, right.
it was a healthy transition for me because I could negotiate, if I could negotiate the world at home, which was so crazy,
Mhm,
and better than it, I don't know, like life just didn't seem that hard after
right.
that. Nobody's
Yeah.
ever asked me that in that way. So that a very astute kind of perception.
Thanks. I come up with them occasionally.
I love it. I love it.
Hey, the other one is, and it's always like the elephant in the room, I'm sure for you, is you're the granddaughter of Ernest Hemingway. Okay. Did you feel like, would you say that's been a gift, or would you say that that's been kind of a challenge in life for you?
I think it's both in some ways, but it's always an honor. So having the kind of heritage that I have and being one of the greatest writers of the 20th century and probably every century that will come to pass ever,
Forever.
forever.
Mhm.
It's what a glorious heritage to come from. So I am forever grateful for that. And not to mention, being a Hemingway has opened many doors.
Sure.
The issue and the problem becomes people think you're rich, spoiled, you
Mhm.
never have to do anything in your life. They make assumptions about who you are and what you are and how you will be based on this name or this celebrity, which has nothing to do with me. My grandfather was a great, great man, and I have been blessed with that name. But for me to do work and be relevant, that's up to me, right?
Mhm.
Or not even relevant. That's the wrong thing. I mean, the kind of the word of the moment, like how can you be relevant? But it's
Right.
really to be good in the world, to show up and really be a good person and make a difference, even if it's just in your own small environment. That I feel that's my responsibility, and
Mhm.
that's my work. But I think everybody has that kind of work somewhere, at some level. If you want to be good at what you do, you have to take responsibility for it. I can't ride on the coattails of being a Hemingway when it comes to acting. Otherwise I'm never going to get a job, or right, or being about health and wellness. I've got to know what I'm talking about and do a
Mhm.
lot of work for mental health, because I come from such mental illness and addiction and suicides, and while the family is so creatively like amazing, there's this dark side to it. And
Right.
that's why I speak a lot about mental health in the world, because I've had experience with it, and because I think it matters for people to know that it doesn't matter what name you have, where you come from, whether you have money, no money, whatever. It's nice for people to know that a celebrity can speak out about it and say, I'm just like you, right?
Mhm.
I know what it's like to suffer, or to be afraid, or to be isolated, or to be depressed. I mean, I know these things. So I don't know. I think that my ability to make a difference in the world is something that, when you have celebrity or you have any kind of notoriety, I think it's not only is it your right, but it's also your obligation to do something. First of all, to learn about it, and then
Mhm.
secondly, do something about it if it's something that you really have a relationship to. And that's how I feel about mental health, because I have such a personal relationship to all of these different facets of mental illness. I wanted to share what I know and how I've survived that, and actually turned whatever trauma I had as a child into thriving. I
Mhm.
like, my life couldn't be better it was a lot of work to get here, but everybody can do it. Everybody can, but it has to do with everything you do. How do you eat? Whether you wake up in the morning, whether you breathe air, whether you know how to breathe, whether you drink water, what kind of food you're eating, what kind of thoughts you're having. Do you take time for silence? And do you get outside in nature? It sounds simplistic, but it's absolutely one of the great keys to finding your well-being.
Yeah, and most people don't do it. That's the irony. It's simplistic,
Exactly.
but most people don't do it.
Exactly.
Did I'll be honest with you, I hadn't intended on completely staying on where we're at right now, but that's part of what I love doing is what happened, obviously, a tragedy. Your sister does commit suicide. Of course, your grandfather did. But did you feel like that? Do you feel like that there was a shift in you when your sister did that? You made this decision, like, I need to.
It didn't happen right away. It didn't happen right away. So she took her life, and my dad denied it. Like, he didn't, because he came from a father that took his life, to then say, oh my God, I have a daughter that's taken her life. I have my oldest daughter who, is schizophrenic and bipolar. And, she was going to be this great tennis player and a great intellect and all that stuff. And that didn't work out. So I think for him, it was his denial comes from just a trauma that was so deep that he couldn't handle it. So I'm sorry, I forgot the question.
Well, I just mean, did when your sister did pass?
Oh yeah,
I was saying, was there an impetus that kicked in for you?
Oh right. So my point was that it didn't happen initially. Like, I didn't get on the bandwagon. I kind of took my dad's side. I never said that it was suicide. And there was a year I was speaking for, because my grandfather had taken his life. I was speaking for the American Foundation for the Prevention of Suicide.
Wow.
And I got up on stage, and in my speech, or my keynote, I just blurted out that my sister took her life. And I had never said it before. And it was a moment of like, oh, I'm supposed to own that,
Wow.
And when I did that, that was kind of the unraveling that made me realize I need to share my family history and my story so that other people can realize that part of the healing process is to know your story, heal your, tell your story, and then you get to heal from that. Right. So and it's been an unraveling ever since. I learned something new every time I speak to somebody like you. When I speak on stage, last week I was in Ohio speaking at a foundation for addiction. And it reveals to me something new about me, about my story, about the issue itself. So that it's, self-discovery and self-awareness and healing is a forever process, right? There's no end to it. It's like life. You never stop growing. You never stop learning, or you should, because your life should not really go much further if you're not eager to learn.
I agree. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Keep challenging, keep pushing. Yeah, that's right. That keeps you going. Let's go. I'm gonna go back to your movie career. I gotta tell you, I remember when Star 80 came out, and I remember thinking, oh my God, you talk about perfect casting. I mean, Dorothy Stratten was very famous, whatever. You were perfectly cast as that. And you were, I mean, exceptional. I'm not just saying that, you were. And
so nice.
Well, it's true. And, there were a lot of like, nude scenes. They were violent scenes.
Yeah.
How did you, as an actress, go to that place? Because it's very real.
It was very interesting because I'd done Manhattan, and it was this, this girl, kind of sophisticated girl in New York City. And then I made personal best, and I was an athlete, and I wanted to play that athlete because I'd been an athlete. I was a ski racer as a kid. I was, I did dry land training. I really knew what it was like to be an athlete.
Wow.
So I wanted to play that role. And then Star 80 was brought to me by my agent, who was also Bob Fosse's agent, the man who directed.
Very famous.
Right. So I said to my agent, he was like, oh, Bob Fosse's doing this thing. I don't think he's going to go for you because he can't see it. I've mentioned it to him, but he can't see it. And I said, just get me in a room with him. I promise you, I will convince him. And he wouldn't see me. He wouldn't see me. He wouldn't see me. He was like, no, she's a cute girl, but no, she's not right for this. Right. So finally, after I wrote him letters, I was like,
oh my gosh, you really went for it.
Oh yeah. Let me just meet with you. You can't say no to, getting me in the room. Anyway, long story short, we finally got in a room together, and he saw, and I said to him, I said, look, I understand the loss of innocence. Like, I really do. I mean, making Manhattan was kind of a loss of innocence. It was like I was there kind of with looking like I'm more sophisticated than I was. That was something that Dorothy had. She had this innocence, like this wide-eyed Bambi look to her.
Totally.
Not really realizing the world she was getting into. It was a bit overwhelming. And I said, I've watched my sister become a superstar, and then I've watched the world try to take her down. Right. And this was before she took her life, but she was drinking too much. She was doing a lot of drugs.
Right.
So I said, I get who this person is. I know the victim that she became. I'm not that victim, but I could easily have gone in a direction of being taken over by somebody else's ideals, trying to please, was a people pleaser, all of those things. Anyway, so then we read together, and he was a little pissed. He was like, you're right for this.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Got it. Anyway, so that was it. And it was, I learned a lot making that movie. I learned a lot about skill and movement. I mean, because he was a choreographer, every one of those scenes where I'm posing, like it looks like it's just, flash cuts of things, he choreographed it all. So it was actually a mini dance that he cut into like boom, boom, boom shots.
Oh my
gosh.
But
every one of the every scene that it looks like a still, he was like, I want you to go from this position to this. It was amazing. Wow. I learned about that. I also learned the importance of rehearsal, which nobody does anymore, by the way. Sad. Unless
very sad.
$2 million movies, because most low budget films don't have time for rehearsal.
Right.
But it was so incredibly valuable. I mean, he taped out on the floor as though it were a sound stage. We were on of course, a stage, a theater, and he taped out every room of the film, of the rooms of the film.
Oh my gosh.
Here's Paul and Dorothy's bedroom. Here's just Paul's bedroom. Here's the studio where you're going to be, blah, blah, blah. And here's this, here's that. And we rehearsed for 6 weeks.
Oh my gosh.
Nobody gets that kind of time. It was like a play. So by the time we went to film this movie, it was no longer a movie. We knew this. It was who we were. Right.
Wow.
False night. And, he was like Psycho Man on this. I was like, dude, this guy's turned. But he had become that over the 6 weeks, and he was such a method actor that I think that's probably why. But he was excellent. He was incredibly good because he had become so deeply ensconced in this world of, self, he was a mess, this guy.
Right, literally.
and Eric, like, nobody there's not a more kind of chilling, scary performance than that one that I've seen in many years.
I agree with you. There is a scene in that movie where you're in, I don't know if it's your bedroom. I look like that, I think, from my memory, but he's with you, and then you're actually, going to have, I guess, make love or have sex, however you want to look at it. But literally, as I'm talking to you, my hands are like sweaty. It is not a scene where you're watching, you're thinking, oh, this is so sexual or whatever. It's like literally like nerve-wracking watching the scene.
It's absolutely, and imagine filming it, and I'm a young girl, and it was very challenging. That was the hardest thing. I didn't mind, like the nudity, it was all, above the waist. I wasn't
Right.
And people will say, why were you nude? I was like, because I was playing playmate. I mean,
well, yeah. I mean, come on.
I mean, I didn't do a full, the full Monty.
Right.
Like that's who I wanted. That's the character I was playing. It wasn't me. And besides that, now at 62, I'm like, damn, you were what back then. Anyway.
But yeah, that's pretty wild. I gotta say, well, gosh, thanks for that breakdown, because that movie's always gotten to me. I'm like, man, how did you do that? So on a lighter note, you mentioned earlier the superhero movie, so we'll throw that one in. Superman 4, I believe, the Quest for Peace.
Minor Supermans of all time.
Your character.
You know what's really funny about that Superman? A lot of people of a generation like just younger than me, like in their 50s now, like late 40s, 50s, that was their Superman, right? Everybody has like a superhero movie that they grew up with, right? And that's a lot of this generation. They love this movie.
Wow.
And another funny story, I'm in India once, and I'm on an elephant. I swear to God, I'm riding an elephant with my kids.
Yeah.
And the kid who's like helping the elephant along to go around in this circle, it's really kind of sad. And probably, I don't think it was abusive, but it probably wasn't the nicest thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
But this kid is like, he looks up and he goes, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. And I'm like, I think, he's seen like some fantastic, and he's like, you're in Superman 4. You're in Superman 4. And I was like, you saw Superman? I don't think anybody saw that movie. It was very funny.
That's awesome. So I had read that your part was supposed to be bigger, and then by the time they did the final edit, they'd cut you back. Is that true?
Yeah, they had made kind of a romantic thing between Christopher and I, but it didn't really work for the entire brand idea. And Lois was still in it, and whatever. But we had fun. We had fun making it.
What was he like, by the way?
So unbelievably sweet to me. Like some people have problems with him, but he was very, he was very hands-on. That was his movie. Like he wanted to turn that Superman 4 into its own kind of series of things, and that didn't happen, obviously.
Yeah. I didn't know that.
But he was great with me.
Oh, interesting. And then you've got, I mean, your career, you got so many angles, but Civil Wars, which I remember myself. Yeah, and Stephen Bochco. What is your recollection, or what is your overall feeling about that experience?
I have to say, along with Star 80 and Civil Wars, is where I learned how to act, bar none. Civil Wars is when you make a series that is an hour-long series.
Yeah.
You have 8 days to shoot an hour show. Okay, so maybe 42 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
It's intense. There is no stopping. You have to know your lines. The hours are insanely long, and you're like you have to be a well-oiled machine to do a series of that nature. So my hat's off to anybody who does, like, 22 episodes a year of an hour show. It's
A
insane.
lot of dialogue, heavy
It's
dialogue too. Yeah.
and I played a lawyer,
Right.
so I had to have dialogue, and I had to be adept,
Right.
and it was great for me. I learned a lot. And if I ever had any fear about memorization, it went out the window because you had no time for that.
Right.
And, it became I loved it. I loved it. I loved the speed, like movies are super slow. They're like,
Yeah.
they take a day for a quarter of a scene. You're like, are you kidding? Or a quarter of a page. You're like, wow. TV is entirely, they're like 7 pages a day. I mean, it's like insane. You're like literally running. But I like that. I like to work hard. So for me, it was really fun.
How did you like working with Stephen Bochco?
He was great. I mean, he was not the hands-on guy. I mean, he oversaw everything, and he really liked me. I really liked him. I mean, he was a great, one of the great producers of television.
Oh
He
my
really
gosh.
turned television around, with NYPD Blue and Hill Street Blues and, all these great shows. But Billy Finkelstein was the producer creator, and he was also great. He has a show on, it's a cop show, can't remember the name of it right now, but he's great. And Mark Tinker, and I actually spoke to Mark Tinker yesterday. I hadn't spoken to him in 40 some years. Yesterday weird. I spoke to him. I was at somebody's house. It was like, oh my God, I've got to call Mark. And I was like, what, Mark? she got Mark on the phone. Mark Tinker, who is one of the producers, who's produced many incredible series.
Really famous, actually. Yeah. No, you're right. And then you've got Central Park West with Darren Star.
I realized that I got on the wrong show because he came out with Sex and the City the year after. I was like, oh, damn it. Why didn't I get on that show?
Right.
And I want to explain to everybody why that show had no chance of making it. So we're making this show. Darren Star has left the Fox world or whatever. I think it was Fox.
Yeah.
Which Aaron Spelling owned everything.
Everything.
And he produced and owned Melrose Place, if you recall.
90210, and we can just keep going.
Exactly. And Melrose Place was created by Darren Star, but Darren left him to go do his own thing.
Right.
And Aaron was pissed.
Oh, yeah.
Angry. And so every night that we were on Central Park West, even the premiere night, he took Melrose Place, which was extremely popular, and he put it on at the same time. So back in the day, it wasn't streamers. So every time we were on, he would put Melrose Place on, so that we didn't have a chance. Like, nobody watched our show. Like, nobody even knew if it was any good.
And we're talking
making it because I was in Manhattan and I chose an apartment on Central Park West. I was like, if I'm going to be in Central Park West, I want to live on Central Park West. It was
my gosh. And you had Lauren Hutton, you had Raquel Welch. I mean,
it was
come
insane.
on paper, it's a hit.
I know. Whatever. Tom Verica. That was before Tom Verica became a producer, and I mean, he was also an actor in how to do a murder or something, how to create a murder. He in that as an actor, but he was doing Scandal. He was one of the producer directors of Scandal, and now he does all the Bridgerton and Queen Charlotte, and he's amazing.
Huge.
I actually spoke to him on our podcast once because Queen Charlotte is about King Richard. King Richard?
It might be. I'm not good at knowing.
Anyway, and he had mental illness, so I talked to him about it because he directed it. It's beautifully directed. Anyway, it was a hoot. I was like, yeah, I haven't seen you since that hit show we were in.
Oh my gosh, that is hysterical. You've been around so many. Another one for me personally, because I happen to I was always a fan of of John Candy, is Delirious.
Such a great,
Um,
so he was one of the great people that I ever worked with, truly.
what was he like when the cameras weren't rolling? Like,
The nicest person ever. He never left set. He brought in food and coffees and, like gifts for the entire crew. If they were going late, he'd stay late to hang out with them, and he just made everybody laugh. He was just loving and kind, and he was a great human being.
oh my
He was
gosh.
just so kind. I mean, I'm sure there was some torture there, but just couldn't have been nicer.
Yeah, he only
Really.
passed away like, I want to say like 2, 3 years after that was shot. So
Yeah, he was doing Wagons East.
right.
And yeah, and his weight had gotten so out of control, but he was such a lovely person. Really loved
Wow,
him.
wow. The other side of that is Deconstructing Harry, which you go back to Woody Allen. What was the experience like? We're talking like 20 years between those two movies,
Yeah.
something like that. What was the experience like going
Fun.
back?
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, it kind of felt like, well, that was a kind of a letdown as far as a role, but
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I was playing the mother of the character I played in the first one.
Really?
No, I just feel like, like, I don't know. I was playing his ex-wife or something, and we had a son together. I don't know. It was funny. It was a little bit, it was a little lackluster in my opinion, but it was fun. I liked being on the set with him and with the crew, and he always has the same people.
Was it the same vibe as far as how you were directed? Kind of like he just
Yeah,
let you do your thing?
he lets you do your thing. Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
interesting. The other ones were Becker and Roseanne. I saw that you had been on.
Becker. Wow.
Yeah, Ted
Well,
Danson.
that was a big deal. That was a huge deal because I guess because I'd play a lesbian in Personal Best, nobody,
Yeah, yeah.
before its time. And then, I got a call from the producers at Roseanne, and they were like, will Mariel Hemingway come on and play a lesbian and kiss Roseanne? I was like, sure.
Mm-hmm.
Why
Yeah,
not?
yeah,
And I didn't even realize that was going to be that big a deal.
yeah.
It was such a big deal. Like, I had
Sure.
no idea that it was going to be like, it was insane. Like, there were people across the country that would not air it. It was so funny. I was like, really? Oh my goodness. I think that I was naive when it came to stuff like that. It was crazy.
Yeah, why do it's kind of like you mentioned Personal Best too. Why do you think, like, for you, especially at times when, like, asking now, oh, you played a lesbian, it's like big deal. But, when we're talking about during these times, you just had like, sure, I'll do it. I'll play that athlete like that. I'll do this.
No, I mean, in the most kind of naive, I just didn't have any judgment about people's sexuality or this or that, whether or not that was my idea. And like, I really saw acting as like, play an actress. Okay. Oh, I'll do that. I find it interesting to play people that you aren't,
Right.
like it. I mean, there's always a seed of yourself in anything you do, but to play someone authentically is to play somebody you're not. And that's what acting is. So I never thought that was weird. Here's the one thing I won't do. I don't like to play people that are evil because I don't like darkness. I'm scared of it. I have deep fear, so it would be very hard for me to play somebody who was genuinely evil to the core. I don't think I could do it. I don't think I want to do it because I don't want to know where my head would have to go to think to be that kind of person.
Right, right. And it's like, does that stay with you a little bit?
I don't know. It just, for me, like, I know that it's acting, but I don't want to dig into like that kind of ground. You know
I
what
understand.
I mean?
Yeah, I understand. So with Becker, I mean, just because trust me, I know my audience will be like, well, wait, you mentioned Becker with Ted Danson, but she never said anything. What What was your experience like with Ted Danson?
I love, the funny thing is he lived down the street from me. We in Santa Monica. He lived on a street just around the corner from where my kids were really small.
Wow.
And Ted's just a good guy. Like, he's so regular. He's like a normal guy, super funny, but easygoing. He's a good guy. He's another one of those guys that you're just like, oh yeah. Some of the great ones that stick around forever, they're the best guys. Clint Eastwood, like these guys, they're good guys, they haven't changed. Nothing ever changed them. They just they are, and they had success, and then they are who they are.
Do the work.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like Clint Eastwood's like, what do you think I'm going to do?
Yeah. I'm 90, whatever, and who cares?
And he's still going. He's still going. I think we should mention your book, by the way. For those that don't know, Out Come the Sun. Because
Out Came the Sun.
Out Came the Sun. Well, let's mention it in the right way. Out Came the Sun. But you talked a lot about the mental illness in your family and all of that. And I think that book really captures a lot of that. So I think it's good that people know about it and know that.
Yeah. So Out Came the Sun. It comes from that little thing, Itsy Bitsy Spider. Yeah. And the sun coming out for me is really, it's really about light. And when people are in darkness, they think that there is no sun. It's why I do a podcast called Out Comes the Sun, because it really is about knowing that you're not alone in darkness. And so it's a book about my life in Hollywood, growing up in a family of addicts and people that have taken their life, but also were really amazing people, brilliant and creative. But what those traumas do to you, and how you have to, and how we all choose to survive. So it's my story, but I tell it so that people know that they can tell their story and find help.
Wow. What about, and I think I get it, by the way, on this next question, but it's one of those, I'm curious, running from crazy. Very, very honest.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to put it.
I wrote Out Came the Sun after doing Running from Crazy. Running from Crazy is the documentary version of Out Came the Sun, but it's really an exploration into suicide of my heritage. So suicide of my great grandfather Ernest and Margaux, and looking at why somebody takes their life, where they were, and how do you survive it, and how do you understand it. It was really trying to understand my family so they could understand myself better.
But it's so brutally honest. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, if I am, let me know. I'm sure you'll know this. But I remember seeing a clip from, and I can't remember if it was from that or not, where you actually show, like, you're standing there, and it's not that you're casual about it, but you're just very direct, very no BS, where your grandfather actually committed suicide. And you're like, this is where it happened, and we still have the house. And you say it very kind of like, this is part of life. Is that hard? Was that hard for you?
It was how it's part of life then. And now, but I actually, as a child, would never go in the door to where that area is. And it's a little kind of, I guess it's considered the front door of the house. But I never, as a child, would go in there. Never.
Wow.
And I never knew why until I was 16 years old. And my father was showing somebody the house, and I was with him. And he said, yes, and this is where my father took his life. And I had never known. And then it all made sense as to why I wouldn't go in that door. Because it scared me. I wouldn't go in there. I would not go in that door. It just, like, people would say, go get me a go get a tray of
Mhm.
something, because they had a birthday party every year on his birthday. And I would go around to the back door. I would not go in that door.
And you
It was
didn't
so
even
crazy.
know.
I didn't even know. I didn't know why I wouldn't, but it just creeped me out.
Wow, that is freaky. So did you feel like you kind of came to terms with it? Like,
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think I now, like, obviously I came to terms with it, because once you know why you're afraid, and then you realize that no boogeyman can get me in there, then you're fine, right? We
mhm,
all, but but what you don't know is what scares you. But when you
mhm.
know, then you're free. And
Yeah.
that's why I tell my story, because by telling it, it can't get me, right?
Mhm.
And it just becomes a story.
Right, right. Um, every time I end these interviews, I always talk about what is a person's favorite charities, their causes, and things like that. With you, I also think of the book that you wrote with your partner, Bobby
Bobby,
Williams. Yeah,
yeah,
Running with Nature.
yes.
What is that? Was this a something of just the two of you coming together for the love of what you believe in, or what do you feel?
Oh, yeah. I mean, when we met, we were introduced by somebody who said, "You two have to meet. You're exactly alike." Bobby is a very exactly alike male version. And you've met him, so you know
Yes.
that's true. He's just very, he's like, if there's a definition of man in the flippin' encyclopedia, there's Bobby, like, I'm a man. But
It's
our
true.
belief systems and our philosophy about life are exactly the same. We
Mhm.
believe in nature. We believe that that body, mind, spirit come together, and to be healthy, you have to be aware of everything that you do. So we're very conscious of food and exercise, and we call it the seven doctors: Dr. Sun, Dr. Air, Dr. Exercise, Dr. Nutrition, Dr. Rest, Dr. Earth, and Dr. What, water? Did I say water?
I'm
Whatever.
not sure if you did say water, actually.
Maybe
Yeah,
I didn't say
I
water.
think you're
Anyway,
right.
so it's, what do you drink? Do you connect in nature? Do you take time for silence? Do you drink water? Do you know how to breathe? Are you even breathing below here?
Right.
Uh, are you exercising? People get old because they quit moving, because things start to ache, and you think, "Oh,
Mhm.
I've got to slow down. I'm getting old." It's actually when you don't slow down. I mean, yes, you may not move as fast, but not moving is a recipe for getting old. So
Yep.
our belief is that, and it's not about like, "Oh, I want to stay young to be vain."
Mhm.
It's about, I want to stay young because I want to be vital, and I want to be with my grandkids, and I want to be able to
Mhm.
run. I want to
Yep.
run on the beach with them. I don't want to be like, limping along. But it's a choice. It's a lifestyle choice. And we believe that these lifestyle choices lead to real longevity, but longevity that has meaning, that is like, I'm happy. I mean, we play all, Bobby and I laugh more than most kids I know. We
Mhm.
laugh all the time. Kids laugh probably babies and children laugh 300 plus times a day.
Yep.
Adults 20. Bobby and I 450. No, I'm kidding.
Right.
But we do laugh a lot, and it's
Yeah,
awesome. I
it
mean,
is.
sometimes we have had to pull the car over because we're laughing so hard about, and we can't even figure out what we started laughing about,
Right.
because that's part of our longevity and our curiosity about life. And we talk about using the brain and being curious and being passionate, and we share that passion together. So he's got an amazing business that we can't really talk about yet, but
Right.
like, he's created a machine that is extraordinary, that's going to change people's lives
Mhm.
when it comes to their health and wellness. And we're so interested in that. Like, how great would it be to be able to say, no, it's your choice, and it's not going to be like a pill that you take.
Right.
It's about, if you do these things, you can pretty much choose the kind of life and length of life you want to lead.
Right. I mean, obviously there are things that all of us deal with genetically and all of that, but outside of that, yeah, without a doubt.
But I also think that you can, I mean, if I were left to believe that my genetics were that was kind of the sentence that I was
Oh yeah,
given.
no, not that.
You know, I would,
that
yeah.
I don't. Yeah.
So
Right.
it's both. Yes, you are
Yeah.
given genetics. You know, sometimes you have a heart thing because
Right.
family
More
had it,
along those
like,
lines.
you
I'm
know,
talking.
whatever.
You know, you have a
But
disease that couldn't be
but we
cured.
can, but you can make a difference even in those things. You
Mhm.
can create a better life within those limits that you may
Right.
have.
Diet, exercise,
Right.
food, all of that. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Meditation, whatever you
Yeah,
want to say.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Very interesting. So
Yeah.
just to end, what causes then would you say, like, you know, people ask me this all the time, like what causes are they behind? What do you like, you know, charities or anything like that? You know, what are you, what's
I
your
do
kind
have
of-
I do have a foundation. It's called the Mariel Hemingway Foundation. Such a unique name. What can
that
I say?
is, I have to admit, a lot of time went into that.
Yeah. I did because we were going to name it we had all these different names. And then my best friend and I just said, why don't we just name it Mariel Hemingway Foundation? Because nobody can argue with us then, right?
Yeah,
Because
and you're backing it. Yeah.
and it's about mental health. It's to help people what we want to become, and we are not yet. So for those of you that are listening and think, you know, I looked online, yes, you will find marielhemingwayfoundation.org, but we are not what we want to be. And what we want to be, and we need money for that, is we want to be a resource navigator. We want to be a place where no matter where you are in the country, you can plug in your location and we will give you all the different options, holistic, psychiatric, hospitals, recovery centers, whatever your mental health problem is, we'll give you solutions in your area. And, you know,
That's wonderful.
It's always up to you. But, and the reason for wanting to do that is that because I speak all over the country about mental health, nobody knows where to go or what to do.
Right.
And there are small, wonderful, these foundations that are in, you know, like I was just in Cleveland, amazing foundation, Lakota Way, right? Great foundation. But like people actually don't know, even in their own hometown, who can help me.
I
And
believe
also
that.
they
Yeah.
don't know who can help me and are they any good. So what I'd also like to be is like a good housekeeping seal of approval to say, yes, we vetted these and they're very successful.
That's really cool. All right.
Yeah.
I'm giving you one last thing here.
Okay.
I saw, and I got to be honest with you, I can't get it out of my head. Just this small phrase that you had, and I think it might have been on your website, chop wood, carry water. Really stuck with me. I don't know how to explain that, but it really stuck in my head. Where does that come from? What is the thought?
It's a Buddhist term that the monks, it's really about being present. So it's about the kind of the menial tasks that we do every day. When you chop wood, carry water is washing the dishes, brushing your teeth, cleaning out, you know, cleaning your sink.
Right.
Just the simple things that we do every single day and doing them completely with presence. It's just life. The best of life is when you're present to the small things, right?
Yeah.
When you are paying attention. So I love mornings because mornings are like, they just represent like new and birth. It's like the start of a day, the sun rising.
Yeah.
So when I make coffee in the morning, it's like a ritual for me. I love morning rituals. And to me, morning rituals are chop wood, carry water. It's just, I used to live on a little ranch I bought with the first money that I got when I was 18. And I bought some land in Idaho and my father took me up there. And there were so many days that I was by myself and I woke up early and I did my I literally chopped wood out
Wow.
front. You know, I chopped wood and I would stack it. And there's something so beautiful about paying attention to what you're doing when you're doing it. So that when you're making coffee or when you're washing the dishes or when you're brushing your teeth, that's all you're doing. You're feeling the water in your mouth if you're brushing your teeth, the taste of peppermint, whatever it is. But being aware of the smallest things can be enriching to your life. It sounds boring, but really, I'm only talking to you right now,
Hmm.
right? So when on the occasion when Bobby was trying to call me and I look down, it irritates me because I'm like, I'm not present to you in that moment,
I
right?
understand.
And it's a disservice to you. It's also a disservice to myself, to my ability to be here
Hmm.
right now. And it's something I learned when I met with His Holiness the Dalai Lama. I watched him
Hmm.
listen to people, and he listened in a way that nobody listens. And my grandfather was big about listening. People don't listen because people are so interested in what they have to say. And I'm guilty of it. We all are. We're
Hmm.
all like listening with that thought of, oh, I'll get this in. Oh, I'll
Right.
get this in. Right.
Right.
And to be present is to be wholly there with somebody, looking them in the eye,
Hmm.
listening. And watching His Holiness listen to people was one of the most extraordinary things I've ever seen in my life. Because it wasn't what he said, it was how he listened. Because nobody else was in that room. I was in a room with like 10 very whoop-de-doo people,
Yeah.
speaking with His Holiness. And I was sitting next to him and I watched him listen. And it changed me. I thought, if I ever can do something better, it is that I need to learn that. I
Wow.
need to learn how to listen. So that's why I wrote Chop Wood, Carry Water.
Interesting. So he would be just like everything else didn't matter. He was right
It didn't
there.
matter. Nobody else was in the room. And then at the end, when he looked at me like to say goodbye, and he looked me in the eye and he said, "You're okay." I was like, oh. And you
He
have to
said
know,
you're okay.
he said, "You're okay." Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And it wasn't psychic. He could feel energetically that it was very insecure. And I was always looking for a guru or somebody or
Hmm.
a doctor or a teacher or somebody smarter, better, bigger than
Hmm.
me to give me an answer about me. And what he did was release me from the desire to need somebody else to tell me about myself. He was like, "You're okay. Like, you're fine. You're okay. You're you, right?
Wow.
Just look inside." And that's when I changed my life. I changed my life. And it wasn't like, oh, psychic, oh, I'm going to follow you.
Hmm.
I have respect for you. But it was like, I'm my best guru.
Hmm.
I'm my best teacher.
Hmm. Wow, that was fantastic. I'll be honest with you. I don't know why I had to ask you about that. It stuck
No
in
one
my head, but that was
asked about
so
that.
wonderful. That was really cool. I enjoyed that.
You too.
Okay, well, listen, I loved talking with you, and obviously tell Bobby I said hi as
I
well.
certainly will. He keeps
Yeah,
such a
as
bitch.
you have to text him, but yeah, do. But anyway, yeah, just thanks a bunch, Mariel. I really appreciate it, and I hope that people that come to see it, they take something away because you had some wonderful things to say.
Thank you so much. And thank you all for listening. You
Oh
know,
my gosh, total pleasure. Anyway, I appreciate you. Thanks.
so talk to you soon. See you soon, I'm sure.
I'm sure. Hey, don't forget to hit the subscribe button in the corner of the video. And if you like the video, please hit the like button as well. And while you're here, take a look at some of the other great interviews from anybody from Jerry Mathers to Butch Patrick to Judy Norton. All fantastic. Have a great one.